to Motivational Interviewing, the Key to Elevation in 2023. Welcome to our training. What we're going to cover today is what motivational interviewing is and what it isn't, why motivational interviewing is useful when working with young people and vulnerable adults. We're also going to cover the behavioral science of motivation, and we're going to look at 2 motivational interviewing techniques that you can take away and use for today. If you've been to any training that Elevated Minds has done, you're going to know that we'll make this as experiential as we can. It's not just about me talking to you. I would love for you to get involved as well in your own way. So that's going to include grabbing a notepad for yourself and also a pen too. This training is for you if you work with young people or vulnerable adults, or you want to be able to communicate a little bit better with people. And if you want to just, up level your communication skills as well. So before I begin about motivational interviewing, who are Elevated Minds? So Elevated Minds is a community interest company established in April 2019, based in Southwark, which is in South London. We deliver early intervention services focusing on personal development, which is embedded with proven coaching methods, NLP, and CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy techniques. We focus on increasing not only the motivation, but also the aspiration of young people, helping them change their mindsets from one of worthlessness to one of success. We empower young people to have more autonomy over their lives and enable them to self-actualize, and that move towards a version of them, the higher version of themselves. We aim to eradicate the PRU, the pupil referral unit, the PRU, to prison, unemployment, and negative outcomes pipeline. We enable achievement and hope to reduce young people feeling as though they're a statistic. And we work with the whole family using a holistic approach. Primarily, we aim to tackle the disproportionate levels of Black and minority ethnic young people excluded from mainstream education or at risk of exclusion. However, we work with all young people from a variety of backgrounds. On the other end of the spectrum, we also work with young people who are considered gifted and talented, but might not necessarily be pushing themselves to the level that they could achieve. We work with teachers, parents, and other organizations that support our young people. And we have a small but very powerful team. And our team consists of 5 full-time members of staff, including myself, 9 part-time, including young people, and 3 volunteers. We also have some fabulous associate coaches as well, who also work with us on an ad hoc basis. So, who am I? My name's Akeila Browne, MA, and I am your host for today. So my background started with young people over 20 years ago, and I've worked with young people in education, youth offending teams, and social care settings. And what I noticed in my experience of working with young people was that when it came to change, when it came to changing their lives and changing themselves, they would do so, but then go back to their comfort zone. So they would take up a new habit or change their behavior slightly and go back to their comfort zone. Now, I looked at myself and the changes that I had made in my life, and I saw that coaching and personal development changed my life completely. It changed my life from being someone who lacked confidence in their abilities to someone who was growing, who started a couple of businesses, who worked with various people and started to grow myself, grow my business, and also grow my education. As a single mom, I went back to university, done my master's in coaching, came out with various qualifications, and that's how coaching and personal development changed my life. Now, knowing that information, I took that and started working with young people. I started to help them to realize their strengths. I helped them to expand their beliefs, and also gave them autonomy over the decisions that they were making. The differences that made was that the young people I worked with grew in confidence. They had more permanent habit changes, and their mindset shifted from one of, I don't know if I can do this, to if I can't do it, I can't do it yet, and I'll figure out how I can. I have 20 years of working with young people in a mentoring and coaching capacity, and I'm also the co-founder of Elevated Minds and a director of coaching, learning, and development for our organization. So remember at the beginning when I said to you that this is going to be experiential. I want you to be involved. Please grab a pen and a notepad or a piece of paper, and I want you to write down, why is motivation important to you? That's the question. And I want you to write the answer. And as you're writing this answer, not only think about it just from your point of view, as why is it important to you from your perspective, but why is it important to your clients from your perspective? Why is it important to the young people or vulnerable adults that you work with from your perspective as well? Okay, so I'll give you a couple of minutes just to write this down and just do a little bit of reflection at the start of the training. So why is motivation important to you? Okay, I'll give you one more minute just to write this down. Okay, 30 seconds. It's a quick 2 minutes. Okay, and we'll come back and start again. Okay, so what is motivation? As I mentioned a little while ago, I worked at the youth offending teams, and working with young people at the youth offending teams allowed me to learn a few things about motivation. I learned that where the young people had autonomy over their decision making in a safe environment, they achieved more. So when these young people were helped to make their own decisions and they were encouraged to make their own decisions and we provided them with a safe space, they actually achieved more things in their life. I learned that, contrary to popular opinion, that young people actually enjoy talking. Or maybe it's the fact that they were being listened to on a deep level, but they enjoyed communicating and talking about themselves and the situations that they were in. I learned that they developed the skills that they needed to make decisions. And it's easy to forget that actually being able to make a decision is a skill set in itself that plenty of adults don't actually know how to do effectively. So the young people learned to look at things objectively. They learned to weigh up options and different opinions. And they learned to ask for help, which is quite a big thing when you've got independent people. And on top of that, they learned how to reflect on all of the above. Now, according to Oxford Learners Dictionary, the definition of motivation is the reason why somebody does something or behaves in a particular way. When we look at motivation in behavioral science, there's tons of different ways of describing what motivation is from a behavioral science point of view. But today we're going to look at two types of motivation. The first is intrinsic. And when we think about intrinsic motivation, it's about something that comes from the inside. So what motivates you from the inside, and there's an example here, such as doing a complicated crossword puzzle. You might do this because it feels good. It's a sense of achievement and gratification of being able to solve a problem. I see this with a lot of the people that I work with who are working with young people. They do it for the love of that young person. They do it for the love of their community. And that's what intrinsic motivation is. Extrinsic arises from the outside of an individual, and that often involves external rewards such as trophies, money, social recognition, or praise. And as I'm talking about this, we won't take any time out, but I just want you to think that when it comes to your own motivation, what motivates you more? The intrinsic side of things, where it's something that matters to you, where you get an internal gratification, an internal sense of pride as you achieve something? Or do you find yourself leading more towards the extrinsic side of motivation? So, in terms of motivation, what is motivational interviewing? So, motivational interviewing originated from the world of therapy, and it's a way of being. It's a way of helping people to facilitate change and it encourages motivation. And I feel like it's an important thing to note here that even though motivational interviewing comes from the world of therapy, you don't have to be a therapist to be able to use this set of skills or this actual approach. Motivational interviewing is based on the principles of a psychologist named Carl Rogers. And he said that in order for us to grow, we need to be in an environment that facilitates growth. So, what does an environment that facilitates growth actually look like? That includes having people around you who have unconditional positive regard for you. And what that means is that it's not people around you that's just going to accept everything, but it's people that's going to accept that you are a human being, and they're going to assume that as you're sitting right there in front of them, that you're actually doing the best that you can. It's about having an environment where there's genuine openness. There's the space where you can genuinely be open to be who you are. It's having someone around you or people around you that show you empathy. And I think it's important here to make the distinction of what empathy is in comparison to what sympathy is. I like to think of it as this, that imagine I saw someone walking without any shoes and it's cold outside and their feet are dirty and they're cut. For me to provide sympathy to that person, I might be thinking to myself, well, it's a shame, it's horrible that that's what's happening. I can't imagine what that would be like to be walking around with no shoes on, for it to be cold and my feet to be cut like that. And I'd feel sorry for them. But ultimately, a lot of that is about me and the way that I'm feeling about them. Empathy, I like to think of, is not only looking at that person and seeing that they're walking without any shoes, but to understand what it's like for that person to not have their shoes in that particular moment. So it's not quite about me, it's about that person without the shoes in that moment. Motivational interviewing is a technique, a set of tools, a way of being for increasing people's motivation for them to change. So, what motivational interviewing is and is not. Motivational interviewing is not a way of tricking people into doing things that they don't want to do. It's not about just reading about it and then thinking, okay, well, I can just make someone change. It doesn't work like that. It's not about tricking people to do things that they don't have the psychological buy-in to actually do. Motivational interviewing is not just a technique. Yes, there's techniques in there, but it's also an attitude, a way of being. It's a set of skills that needs to be developed over time. Motivational interviewing is a way of helping clients to recognize that there is a need for change. And there is a saying, and I think I've put it further on into the webinar, about how important it is for someone to own their change. And in order for someone to change, they've got to recognize for themselves that there is a need for change. Motivational interviewing consists of a number of tools and techniques, which includes listening. It includes questioning, so asking open-ended questions. It includes reflecting and paraphrasing and summarizing what someone is saying. and repeating that back to them. Change talk is a huge component of motivational interviewing, and it's being able to help someone through talk to accept where they are right now. In order for someone to move forward in their decision making to make a different life for themselves, they will need to accept where they are at the moment. When someone is able to accept where they are at the moment, it validates their current thoughts and their current situation. When a person feels heard, they can begin to own their journey and move forward with ownership and autonomy. And as you can appreciate, working in the youth offending team, helping someone to accept where they are now was a profound and powerful experience. You know, it was probably one of the darkest days of their life when they went to prison, when they came out and they were part of the youth offending team. It was dark for many of them. And so being able to help them to accept where they were right now was a profound and powerful experience. So I want you to think for a moment. Think of someone in your life that is finding it difficult to change. And what might happen if you help them to accept where they were right now? If you help them to accept where they are in the current moment and help them to feel that their thoughts and current situation was actually being validated rather than being forced to change when they weren't quite ready to. So why would motivational interviewing be useful when working with young people, vulnerable adults? The biggest one for me is that it gives them their journey. What happens sometimes with young people, vulnerable adults, when they're working with professionals, they get told what to do. And it's not done from a negative point of view, you know, with negative intentions. It's actually done with quite positive intentions of guiding someone to a goal that you know that they could achieve. And that can be powerful, but what is even more powerful is when someone has autonomy over that journey. When they experience unconditional positive regard, where they are seen as a human being, they're seen as whole, they're seen as in their wholeness, and they're seen as doing the best that they can do, is very, very empowering for them as well. And it also supports self-efficacy, which is developing belief in themselves in order to be able to achieve more. So what are the principles of motivational interviewing? The first one is to be able to develop discrepancy. Change is motivated by the discrepancy between the behavior and the goals or values that you have. When you use change talk, the client, rather than the counselor, the therapist, the coach, the mentor, the teacher, argue for change. So it's the client or the young person, the vulnerable adult, their voice argues for change. So it's actually them. They see where they are right now. They see the behavior that they're displaying, but they also see what their goals and their values are. And it's within that discrepancy that they can start to begin to argue for their own change. The second principle is support and empathy. Acceptance may facilitate change. When you listen reflectively and normalize ambivalence, which is that indecision stage, it helps people to facilitate their change. It's normal to feel ambivalent about change. You know, we're told a lot of the times that you should know what to do. Come on, set your goals, do this, move forward. You know, it's all empowering. But what isn't spoken about so much is actually that place of indecision. I want to change, but I don't know if I can. I'm thinking of doing this, but I'm not quite sure how to. Am I able to? It's normal to feel that way. When you accept that part of someone, then it's easier to facilitate change for them. Also, spending time building rapport is necessary, and that's necessary in any kind of supportive relationship anyway. The third principle is rolling with resistance. When resistance is not directly opposed and is a signal to respond differently, people can change. When you argue for someone's change and you're berating them for that change, you can feel resistance from them pulling away. When you actually are encouraging the resistance or speaking about the resistance and finding out what it actually means, then they're able to respond differently. And the fourth principle is to support self-efficacy. Clients believe that things can change is an important motivator. If someone believes that change can happen and that they can be the person to evoke that change, then the facilitation can be huge around that subject. The clients are responsible for carrying out that change. And whether you are a counselor, you're a teacher, or a coach, your belief in them actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for them as well. So we've spoken about motivational interviewing, and we've covered the principles and why it's important and the behavioral science behind motivation as well. And as I said to you at the beginning, this isn't just about me talking to you. This is about you learning something that you can go away and discuss with people that you work with your team members, even with people in your family, and taking a couple of techniques that you can use. So the first I want to introduce you to is something called the ruler strategy. And it's about helping someone to assess where they are. So the first part of the question is, on a scale from 0 to 10, how important is it for you to change, where 0 is not at all and 10 is extremely important? The second question, on a scale from 0 to 10, how confident are you that you could change? The reasons why these questions are so important and so impactful is that you're not telling the client where they are. You're not telling the young person where they are in this. They're telling you where they believe that they are. It enables you to then ask more questions. So say, for example, someone scored themselves at a 5. You could ask them, what does a 5 look like for them? How do they know that they're at a 5? What would need to happen in order for them to move to a 7? You know, you're discussing where they are, where they could possibly get to, and what that might look like for them. And that's actually a technique that we use with all of our young people at the start of any program that we do with them. The second exercise is something called a decisional balance exercise. And this is just exploring the differences that happens in our minds when we think about changes and we think about things that we want to change in our lives. If you speak to someone about the advantages and disadvantages of changing, they can weigh up their options. They can start to explore with you what that might look like. But when you start looking at the advantages of things staying the same, you can also find where people have got a psychological buy-in to where they currently are. You could work out what's actually motivating them in that space, but then also weighing disadvantages of staying the same as well. So there you've got 2 different exercises that you can take away, that you can start to use today to have different conversations with people in your life. They will enable you to not only help them to see where they are, but to also communicate a little bit better as well. So as we're coming to the end of the webinar, I want to be able to give you a couple of take-home messages about motivational interviewing. The first is that motivational interviewing strategies do not ask if the client is motivated, but it asks what motivates him or her. And there was a saying that I came across as I was putting this webinar together, and it said that people are better persuaded by the reasons they themselves discovered than those that come into the minds of others. And that shows you how powerful it is where someone can see the discrepancy between their own behavior and goals and values that they've set for themselves, and they decide to change because of that discrepancy. And the last one is, and this is all about your mindset and the way that you look at things, is a question for you to take away. And that is, do you believe that motivation is something that we all possess? Now, before I finish the webinar and open up the floor to questions, I just want to tell you about our program that we've got coming up in the summer of 2023. And we are developing a CPD accredited 3-day course on this very subject of motivational interviewing. We know the power that it has for our young people. We have seen our young people change and grow beyond their vision that they had for themselves. You know, the course that we're going to offer covers the key concepts of motivational interviewing. We go far deeper into this. We look at the theoretical principles of how people change. So we look at the psychology behind why and how people change. We look on the impact of language on change as well as motivation. And we also look at the values work and tools and techniques that are required for change. If you've been to anything that Elevated Mind has ever delivered before, you will know that the training that we deliver is fully experiential. As I said at the beginning of this webinar, we won't just talk to you through the 3-day course. This is about you also growing, becoming the person that can use motivational interviewing to not only facilitate change in others, but facilitate change within yourself too. We'll give you the space to practice with us and practice with other people that are also on the course and on the program as well. Now, this is not only for individuals, but also for teams. So if you work with young people, you work with vulnerable adults, or you want to improve your communication, then my colleague is about to post a link for expression of interest form that we've got in the chat box. And what I would love for you to do is just to fill in a simple form and send your details to us. And what we can do from then is to let you know when the course is going to be released and to let you have any more information on our program as well. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. I understand this is everyone's lunch break, and I'm very, very privileged to have all of you online. There's been tons that have come online today, so thank you very, very much. Do we have any questions? Oh, you're welcome, Joy. You're welcome, Tamar and Jagdeep as well. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad that it's been enlightening for you, Joy. Belinda, the course can be online. So we're going to do 2 different variations of the course, one in person, which will be in South London at our offices, and also online as well. So yeah. So please feel free to complete the link, and then you can just upload your details and we'll let you know the dates and the times as well. Thank you. Thanks for posting that, guys. The course is CPD accredited as well. So everyone that comes onto the course will receive CPD accreditation in motivational interviewing. You're more than welcome, James. Yes, Jules, there will be a price for the course. So if you leave your details with us using the drop form link, we'll send you out all details of the course as well. We'll do that. You're more than welcome, Sheila. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. You're welcome, Jules. Oh, thank you very much, Mum. Thank you. You're more than welcome, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. Okay, as I said, guys, please feel free to fill in the jot form link, leave your details with us. We'll send you more information. And if anyone wants to contact me separately, please feel free to do so. My email address is Akeila, which is Akeila at elevatedmindscoaching.com. So please feel free to email me as well. Thank you, Jagdeep. Thank you. We look forward to receiving your details as well. All right, guys. So if there aren't any questions, then I'm going to leave you all to grab some lunch because, as I said, if you're anything like me, you're going to be hungry right now. So go and have some lunch, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The next webinar will be next month on the 2nd of April. Yes, we will be doing another webinar next month, the 2nd of April, and we'll forward some details about that as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.